Hey Star Wars fans, how are you doing? My name is John and welcome to my Star Wars show. This episode is going to be my thoughts and opinions of the huge news that was announced several days ago as of filming this video, that Disney bought out Lucasfilm. They paid a little over $4 billion for Lucasfilm. They paid $4.05 billion. Half of that was in cash to George Lucas and half of that was in stock options. They gave George 40 million shares of stock to Disney. So not only did George Lucas have a ton of money coming his way, but he owns a significant portion of Disney as well. George has announced that he plans on retiring, stepping down, kind of stepping away. He'll be a consultant a little bit, I guess, but Kathleen Kennedy will be stepping up as president of Lucasfilm and will be reporting directly to Disney. Also, the same day, Disney announced that they will be releasing a new movie, Episode 7, which is slated for 2015 release. And every couple years after that, they'll release 2 more films, so 7, 8, 9 in total. Brand new Star Wars trilogy. This is the biggest Star Wars news probably since Episode 1 was announced officially. I mean, who would have thought they'd have another trilogy? My theory, I'm gonna take a guess here, my theory that the new trilogy won't necessarily be a sequel or a continuation of the original trilogy, Episode 6. It was not necessarily gonna it'll take time, maybe take place time after Return of the Jedi, but it won't necessarily be a direct sequel. I don't think we'll see Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo as much necessarily. I think what it's going to be more is going to be a spin-off. The reason I think this is because Timothy Zahn wrote a number of books that were a continuation of the original trilogy, including Mara Jade, The Emperor Clone, all that good stuff. Great story. I really encourage you guys to check out those novels. They're awesome to read. But I'd be very, very surprised if they actually kind of ignore the expanded universe side of things and said, you know what, that's not legit, we're going to create our own story. It would kind of contradict the whole Star Wars galaxy and universe. My theory is they're going to take some characters and have a kind of a spin-off of the main story. So, you know, I'm assuming we'll probably see R2-D2, C-3PO. We might see Luke. I'd be very, very surprised if Harrison Ford comes back. He's already said he's not really into Star Wars much anymore. He doesn't want anything to do with Star Wars. That's just my theory. I'm really curious what you guys think about that as well. Something also that a lot of people didn't mention or think about when Disney acquired Lucasfilm was that they acquired the subsidiaries of Lucasfilm. So they acquired Industrial Light and Magic, the special effects division. They acquired Skywalker Sound, which is obviously the audio sound part of things. They also acquired LucasArts, which is the video game division. And that's interesting because Disney has been really putting a lot of money into video games. The Disney Studios, they release Epic Mickey among other games. And my theory is that they're going to merge those two. Disney Studios and LucasArts are going to kind of merge to consolidate some of the staff, which is unfortunate. And they're going to kind of go from there. Be curious if they even keep the LucasArts name. I'm guessing they will, being Star Wars and they have that brand recognition, but it'll be curious to see. One of my biggest fears of this new trilogy being announced in Disney is that they're going to make it too kid-friendly. I'm worried that we're going to see a lot more Jar Jar Binks type characters in the new trilogy. I really hope not. Now, don't get me wrong. I think kids should absolutely enjoy Star Wars. I did, well, I was a kid anyway. But they can't forget the core audience, and that is the young adults, the adults that grew up watching the original trilogy in the 70s and 80s. And they need not to forget that, because if they do, it's going to be a huge uproar in the Star Wars community. One thing, it's going to be kind of curious, one thing I would really like to see Disney do, which I don't think they will, unfortunately, is I'd really like them to release a Blu-ray of Star Wars, the original trilogy, not the special edition, the original, uncut, untouched trilogy. Now, Lucas has for a long time refused to come out with the original trilogy. I guess he did on a couple DVDs a little while back, but I'd love to see a Blu-ray of those. Unfortunately, Fox still owns, I'm assuming, the rights to the original 6 movies, including the original trilogy, and I'd be very, very surprised on how that will work out and if they will ever release the original trilogy as if you were seeing it in the theaters back in the 70s and 80s. And that's another interesting topic. Who has the rights now to those movies? Is it Fox or is it Disney? I don't know how that's going to work. Also, the Indiana Jones part of things, part of Lucasfilm, that Paramount has rights to that. So again, how is that going to work with Indiana Jones? I'm assuming that Paramount will hold on to the Indiana Jones franchise. They have already announced they're going to make another Indiana Jones movie. So that's going to be interesting how that pans out. So my theory is that they're going to start, just focusing on Star Wars. They're going to focus on these new movies. I'm assuming Fox will retain rights to the original movies, the prequels as well. I think there's going to be a lot of hype to this new trilogy, just like there was with Episode 1 when it came out. I think some people will be very disappointed in it just because the hype is so high. I kind of felt that way with the prequels. A lot of people talk bad about the prequels. I certainly don't like the prequels as well as the original trilogy, of course, because I grew up with it. But it's all as the way you see it. If you grew up in the 90s, early 90s, 2000s, and you watch the prequels first, I think those people have a greater appreciation for Star Wars than those who watched the original trilogy. I think the expectation was way too high, and I have a fear that's going to be the same thing with Episode 7. Another thing, Disney does a good job overall with making movies, but I'm really fear also, I hope they don't take Star Wars what they did with Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, for example. I love the first Pirates of the Caribbean. The next, I think they came out with 3 after that, were really, really bad. In fact, the second Pirates of the Caribbean, I almost walked out on. And the third Pirates of the Caribbean, I did walk out on in theaters. I don't walk out in many movies, but Pirates of the Caribbean 3, whatever that's called, was a really, really poor movie. I felt they were just milking their franchise too much. I kind of fear that might happen with Star Wars. I really hope not. I hope they really stay true to the core of the story, the character development. That's what makes Star Wars Star Wars. The special effects are great, but it's the story, in my personal opinion, that makes Star Wars better than any other franchise, movie franchise that I can recall ever seeing. Another interesting note I want to bring up too are the products. Obviously, Star Wars has really done a great job. They were the first company really to start making toys and stuff very popular in movies back in Kenner. Now Hasbro has the rights to the Star Wars name. It'll be interesting to see how that works out too, because I know Disney has their own toy division and they make their own products. Now I'm assuming that they're going to keep everything the same because, Disney back in 2009 purchased Marvel, and Hasbro has the Marvel line, and they continue making the Marvel Universe line. So I'm assuming that's going to be fine and dandy, but I really hope so. I hope that they don't change it. Disney has already done some co-branding before with Star Wars product lines. So for example, if you go to any Disney parks, you can find some exclusive figures there that have Disney characters dressed up as Star Wars characters, which is kind of cool. So I'm sure they'll continue doing that. But I'm really curious what you guys' thoughts about this whole thing is. Like I said, I got mixed emotions. I'm very, very excited about the prospect of some new movies. I'm just kind of wary about that. I really hope Disney sticks to the core story, the character development. I hope they don't get caught up in just the money and dollar signs, which I'm sure Disney has done before. I'm kind of interested to see what happens to Lucasfilm, what happens to LucasArts, what happens to all these subsidiaries a lot of people don't really bring up. Disney purchased Marvel, they purchased Pixar, they purchased obviously Lucasfilm recently. I mean, they're taking some big steps, a lot of money going out there to help grow Disney. I just hope that they make these new movies great. So guys, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinion about this because obviously it's huge news right now in Star Wars. As always, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you. Take care.